and so I lost my logger. And to this cafe I'll come, and here I'll wait till someone stirs his coffee with his thumb.
First, obtain suitable material. You will need 3 logs, 2 short pieces about 1 meter or 3.5 feet long, and a longer piece about 2.5 meters or 8 feet long. Arrange these by placing the longer log across the shorter ones. Make sure they are stable and reasonably level. Because we plan to cut a saddle notch, you'll have to cut a scarf on each of the short logs first. Remove the long log and snap a center line on each of the short logs. Place the scarf board template on this center line to lay out the scarf dimensions. Mark the depth of the scarf at the center and trace the width of the scarf on the top of the log. A scarf board is a piece of material about 75 millimeters wide and 450 millimeters long, that is 3 inches by 18 inches. These sizes may vary with log size. The scarf board is also used to place the end marks for the scarf. With the saw, make a guide cut at the center. Use this cut to help determine the slope of the cut. If you plan to finish with a power planer, start your cut about a blade width inside the end mark. Use the back of the bar to cut, and make sure that you do not cut too deeply. When approaching the center of the scarf, lead with the bottom of the bar so that the cut goes through more smoothly. You are going to cut a slope on each side of the log by removing the segments shown in yellow. Again, end the cut about 1 blade width short of the end mark. Dress the cut smooth with an axe, slick, or plane. In this case we are using a round bottom power plane. The planer sequence is shown. Work from the end to the center. Do 1 and 2 from one side of the log and 3 and 4 from the opposite side. As well as looking better, this smooth surface sheds weather better and is easier to scribe. Be very careful with this machine. Keep your hands away from the blade and don't hit your legs. Keep the power cord in the clear. Now let's look at this again. Mark the depth at the center, then trace the width of the scarf on the top of the log. Make a center guide cut. Line up the saw and begin your cut one blade width from the end mark and with the back of the bar. Slope the saw forward at the bottom as you go through the center. Then end about one blade width short of the end mark. Do not cut too deeply. The scarf is an important part of your work. Now it might be a good time to practice a little. When both saddles have been cut and dressed, replace the longer log, ready for scribing. Choose a scribe width about halfway down the face of the scarf, and set your scribers to this height. At this point, you may wish to check your scriber at the level board. A level board is a piece of 1x4 or 2x4 with a reference line that is plumb on both vertical planes. With this, both level bubbles may be checked at the same time. Fix the board to a firm location. Then wedge it into a true vertical position. Draw a plumb line on this surface and date it. You may now accurately set both of the levels on the scriber in one operation. First, you are going to make a preliminary scribe and cut a preliminary notch in order to get the log into a better position for a final scribe. This scribe is made more quickly than a final scribe, but reasonable care should be used, especially in the beginning. Position the scriber on the underside of the log. Keep your attention on the bubbles. Hold the instrument lightly in both hands and at 45 degrees to the work. Drag the scriber to the midpoint of the scribe while watching the bubbles and feeling for the contact of both points. Now roll the log until the scribed side is up and dog it in place. Make the first cut straight down at the center of the notch. Use the full bar right across the log. Start the side cuts right at the scribe line and follow it to the bottom, again with the saw straight across the notch. In all cases, cut to the line, but not beyond the line. Split the pieces out with your axe, and, except for a little brushing, the notch is fully formed. Cut scriber relief at the top of the notch. This is often necessary. Scriber relief will provide access for the lower leg of the scriber when the final notch goes beyond the center of the log. If the notch segment is too wide to be easily split off, you might make two cuts in the center, or use a plug cut. With your log again in position to scribe, locate a width near the bottom of the scarf and register this dimension on the side of the log in case you need to recheck your setting. Now set the scriber up carefully at the level board. Your work will be very dependent on this adjustment. From a comfortable position, scribe to the midpoint from the top, then from the bottom. If the material is very dry, use a spray bottle or sponge to dampen the wood. As a reference, you might mark the position of your scribe onto the lower log. Hold the scriber lightly in both hands and watch the bubbles. Feel for the point contact. Then, after the segment has been drawn, spot check to see that the line is complete and accurate. Maintain the instrument at 45 degrees to the work so that you will be writing on the points. Also, check to be sure that the pencil did not follow a crack or other deformity in the log. Roll the notch up again for the final cut and dog it securely in place. Sketch in a 5 or 6 millimeter relief at the top of the notch. Score around the edge of the notch with a good chisel to prevent fraying the edge of the cut. Hold the chisel firmly in the center and walk it around the cut. Keep the flat side of the chisel out and leave the line on the work. Cut about 5 millimeters deep. A scoring knife may also be used. It will work best, however, on softer woods. Cut to depth at the center of the notch. Be careful to keep the bar straight and to not overcut the line. Cut each quarter just inside the scribe line. Watch the cut line and aim the saw as though you were intending to cut right across the notch. Your cut should extend only slightly more than halfway across so that you can see where you are cutting. When all 4 quarters have been cut, break out the pieces of wood and brush the work carefully to the line with the blade of the saw at right angles to the work. Trim to the scribe line with a very sharp chisel or axe, and the notch is complete. Check across the notch with a straight edge to be sure that there are no high spots. The notch should be slightly concave, 12 millimeters or half an inch in the center. Roll the log down and check your work. We hope you will be proud of your first attempt, but every log is a new challenge and every log is better than the last.